employees or relocate the people in the organization, something like that. You can apply that as simulation to study about the, how can you schedule, right, about the flight timings, right, for maintenance. You can apply the tool for, fix the problem of, the production of the company, something like that. So this is like the knowledge that you can use and apply to other courses and also for the ISM. And again, I cannot remember how many groups that you have. 5?
6?
6? Okay, 6. Okay. First is let's talk about the schedule. Okay, let's talk about schedule. We study every Thursday evening. Okay, there's one slot that changed, right? The last one, actually, the last class before the exam should be at October 3rd. Okay, October 3rd. But based on that date, October 3rd, it's like the Commandant's Day of the university. Okay, and I cannot be here because I'm the committees that do something in the auditorium for this event. Okay, and so normally once everything finished, I have no energy to teach. I need to get up at 4 for 2 days consecutively, right, and stay standing, do everything for the whole 2 days. So I have no energy, right? And the schedule, so I'm cancel the last one, right, on October 3rd. But I request you to have the making up on, this is Wednesday, or Friday. It's on September 27th. Yeah, it's Friday, right? For just the last one, the last card, and this is about the project presentation. The case study is going to change a little bit, right? If you look at this, okay, I'm sure we have 3 cases, but actually we have 6. But don't be panicked. 6 is mean, since actually based on the old curriculums, we have 3 credit hours for the course. So generally, I have 5 to 6 cases and 1 project. But now we split into 2 courses, right? I cannot have 5 cases, just like the OM, because the topic is continuous and based on each week. Sometimes you cannot have the knowledge enough to do the case study. Okay, so I prefer to have 3 cases, but 3 cases, but you have, I don't know, 50 or 60 students, right? 40. Okay, let's say 40. 40 if you have 3 cases, just like that one group present 1 case, you can have around 10 to 12 or 15 per 1 group. It's impossible. So then my plan is that I'm gonna have 2 cases, right? And another 3 cases, right? The first one for the first 3 groups, the second one for another 3 groups. Let's say that one topic you have 2 cases, but you do just 1. Okay, so it means that you have 6 groups, 3 groups can have the same case, and another 3 groups can have the same case. Let's say. So actually, per 1 group, you're gonna do just 3 cases. But overall, we have 6. Okay. Overall, we have 6, but you do just 3. Okay. But it means that each time that you make a presentation, we're gonna have 2 groups to make a presentation because you have different cases. But you're gonna have like the project presentation. And if you look at the schedule, it's impossible that you're gonna pick up the topic around, integers to do the project presentation because we just study at September 26th. So I request you to do the project, just the topic from linear programming up to the assignment. Okay? the project. Okay, and we're gonna have project presentation on the last class, and as usual, we're gonna have like a little bit exam review, right? Since we have one exam, as usual, I'm gonna add you to the course view, right? And everything for the course on course view. Actually, the textbook I built this one for an introduction to management science from Anderson and Sweeney. So if you have it, you can do the practice problem from this one. And another textbook, let's say that every textbook that regarding to quantitative analysis, operational research, or managerial science, or you can do it right from the practice problem. But actually, in the class, everything is based on my lecture handout. Okay, and the evaluation is quite different from the OEM class because we have project and case study. Okay, and the final is 50%. Case study just 30, actually 10 for each, and project is 20. So two things that can make you different from your group is about final exam and project. It means the project for each group might have different score, but for the case study, right? If everything is not that bad, just okay, concept is okay, maybe you have a little bit mistake, that's fine. But I try to put 30% for your case study. But if you do something that quite a big mistake, maybe you have a deduct some point. But for the project, this one is like the comparison for each group. But it's quite very important. And I'm not required the big one for the project. No, I'm not required for the number of pages. So the thing that you need to do is just select topic. It should be the real topic, the real incident or the real problem. Maybe from your business, maybe from your organization, maybe from your company. Some information you can assume because I understand that sometimes some information from the company is confidential. So maybe you can adjust something or have your assumption, but not that the whole assumption for the whole project based on your thinking, no, but just some. And the criteria for the project is that first is about the problem statement, right? You need to show that what kind of problem that you have and using the tool or the topic that we study in our class to handle or to solve for that problem. So the first main point is about the problem statement. The second one is about will you choose the right the methodologies, or will you make it correctly? And the last one is about the recommendation. Okay, this is like a calculation cost, but it doesn't mean that you just this is my answer, just the number. No. You need to explain, show about your recommendation, show you about implementation in the business context, something like that. Okay, so that is the project. And the tentative for the grading is just the same as a OEM. I'm setting at initial around 85, but it's just based on the group. Okay, so it's around this 85, 87, right? And that's it. Any question? No? For the second course, analytical models for management 2. I don't have the syllabus yet because it's not coming yet, but Mi told me about you guys want to know about the schedule in advance, right? So I will tell you. There's something that changed from the normal one. For the analytical models 2, we start at evening on Thursday just before, as before, and okay, on the first day is October 17. Okay. 17 we have class, 24 we have class, 31st we have class, right? 7 November we have class, 14 we have it. But for the November 21st, November 21st, we have no class because I'm studying. I'm going the board. Okay, let me repeat. 17 October, 24 October, 31st October, 7 November, 14 November is still the standard. Right? But for 21st November, I have no class because I'm going board. But I'm want to make up on Friday, 15 November. Okay. Okay. 28th November, no class because I still in the board. And let me see. And 5th December is Father Day. So once again, can we meet on Friday, 6th December? If you have other days prefer, you can tell me because right now I'm made up on Friday evening because I check with me right, about the schedule. I don't know. Actually, I prefer to have like a Wednesday evening more than Friday. But I don't know. Maybe you have class, right? So if you have some slot that the professor cancel, you can tell me. Okay, but now I'm based on the schedule that they have. And yeah, we're gonna have the final on December 12th. And but the second part is maybe different from the first part because the topic is less than the first course. Okay.
15 November you have a class.
Which?
Executing strategy.
Executing strategy?
It's a makeup class.
How about Tuesday? You have that on Tuesday?
Tuesday, 12. Yes, we also have.
19.
19.
So which can be changed from 15 to 19. Okay, November.
So that's the makeup class.
That's the makeup class for 21st, yes. But for the makeup class for 28th is, let me check. I forgot something. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. Let me write. Okay. Now this is what we have. Okay. October. '17, 24, 31st, November, 7, 14. Okay. And have 19. This is making up. And another day is focus. This one. So if you have November. If you have another day that you prefer, you can tell me. Okay, I can change. So, 19. And then December, we have 6. So we have no class on 21st, 28th November, and 5th December. Okay, so I think this one is Tuesday. This one is Friday. This one is Friday. So if you have any problem, you can tell me now.
Final exam date to be
For the exam, final is 12 December. Okay. Are you okay with this one? We making up 8, 19, and 6. This is due to the Father Day, and also I'm going abroad for 2 weeks, right? So I need to make. That's it. So if Friday is not fit for you, so you prefer other days, you can tell me. I can check the schedule and tell you right now for that week. Okay. Okay. So I will inform me again, and probably he will send you about the schedule. Okay. So let's start with the topic for today. Of this one.
Min, what time did you go home last night? Oh, this is a cute jumper. This looks like, huh? Jingle from Uniqlo. Where's that? Oh, from the metro. It's quite nice. It's pretty cool. This is what it looks like for me. I'll tell you. I'll show you. It looks like this. Let me see if they put the picture. Hang on. This is what the person who plays cricket wears.
Okay, let's start for the topic today. Okay, if we look at, here. For today, we're going to study the linear programming, right? It's about only the graphical method. Okay. There's 1 or 2 classes that we're going to study in the computer lab. Okay.
Yes.
But if you don't know about the foundation, right, about the basics, like how it's come from for the calculation, so we're gonna have no idea when we try to using the programming or the software and read about the output from the software. So we're gonna start with the very basics, right, about the linear programming, right, in order to understand how it's operate and make the calculation and come up with the answer. So for today, we're gonna go to the linear programming, just with the graphical method. Okay. So for the linear programming, this is the like the very popular the topics. In the case that you study, whatever the management science or operational research or optimization, okay? because this is the first topic of the basics for the optimization method. Okay, so here's the outlines that I'm gonna, teach you and provide you with the knowledge about the linear programming. At first, for today, let's start with the application of linear programming. And then it's gonna follow by the characteristics of the problem that we require the linear programming to solve it. And next thing is about the way of we doing the linear programming. Actually, it consists of 3 parts. The first part is about linear programming formulation, then followed by the solving for the answer, and the last one is about the sentence analysis. So, the very first part is linear programming formulation. This is the one that very important, the most important one. Because if you cannot, formulate the problem, let's say for us it's about the business problem, into the linear programming model, you cannot do the next step, that will be solving and finding the answer. So the formulation is mean you try to translate the business problem into the linear programming model or maybe in equation form. Okay, and then once you have the formulation, you have like the problem of business in the form of linear programming. Then we try to solve it. And the way that we can solve for linear programming, we have 3 ways. First one is graphical, second one is simplex method, and the last one using the computer programming or using the software. For example, using the Microsoft Excel or here for Windows or Windows program, something like that. So the computer programming we're going to study it for sure, okay? Right. But for the simplex method, it will not cover in our class because it's very difficult and it's not necessary to study. And actually, the simplex method is about the algorithm in the computer software. But for the first one, the solving method using the graphical, this is the foundation that we need to understand. Because if you don't understand the graphical method, you cannot understand about the way that the output produce and tell you. Okay, so we will study the graphical and computer programming. And once you finish, we're gonna have like a sentence analysis. That means you need to getting the answer from linear programming already, but you try to study how sensitive of your answer if some factors change. Right? So that would be the sentence analysis. This is the most difficult part for the calculation. And for me, right, maybe different from other professors in the way of teaching is that normally we start with the formulation, right? But for me, I'm starting the solving. The formulation, I'm gonna show you 1 or 2 examples, right? But we're gonna have one class, the whole class, to study formulation, just only using the several problem in business and try to doing the formulation together for the whole class. But for today, let's say that okay, I mentioned this one, but not that much. But we assume that okay, right now we have like the problem in the format of linear programming already, and how can we solve it? So this is the way that we can study for today, and we're gonna use the graphical method. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to the first one, the application of linear programming. As I mentioned, that linear programming is like the optimization method. So it can be applied in several problems and a lot. Like for example, in the production problems, let's say the product mix. The product mix means sometimes your company, let's say you have like several products that using the same resources. For example, you're using the same workforces. You have the same machines. You're sharing about the raw material, right? And you have like the capital of the company. So the product mix means you can apply the linear programming to solve the problem that how many units of your products, maybe product A, product B, and product C, that you need to produce in order to getting the maximum profit, something like that. Each of them sharing the same resources, let's say the workforces and raw materials. Or maybe you can think about the blending problem. by making food for your pet, your pig, your dog, something like that. So actually, it's come from the several the things from vegetable and other things, right? That you combine in order to blend it, right? To getting the food for your pet that help fulfill the requirement for the vitamin or other supplements. So how can we do that, right? In order to achieve the lowest production cost. Right? Or you can think about the way of apply to the marketing problem. So let's say you have the budget for your marketing department or from your company, and based on that budget, you need to think that okay, which media selection that you're gonna apply for in order to getting the impact to the audience. Let's say you have the social media, you have the Facebook, you have Instagram, like the YouTube, or you can have like on television or the magazine. So each type of the media, they have the different costs, right? Different costs and different requirement. But you have limitation about your budget. And sometimes you have some limitation from the policy of the company. Let's say that they don't want more than 20% to invest in the, making the media on magazine, something like that. So how can we do that in order to have the maximum impact to the audience? Or how can we do it with the minimum total cost? We can apply the linear programming. Marketing research as well, right? In the case that we try to research about the market on some products, right? You need to make like a survey, right? Collecting from your target group. You can using the linear programming, right, to fulfill the requirement of your marketing research in order to collect the right, the number of the survey, right, in order to have fulfill the requirement of the research, and at the same time you want it with the minimum total cost. Of finance, okay, maybe you can think about the portfolio. You have your own money, let's say 1 million baht. How can you invest this? How many proportion that you're going to invest in stock, in bond, in treasury bill, in order to achieve the highest return? But don't forget that each type of the investment, they have the different risk, right? Risk, and also you have the risk tolerance in the different people. So how can we do that, right? Assignment problem, we can apply the programming in the case that you try to assign people to do the job, right? Project manager to handle the project in order to have, maximum efficiency or using the less time or minimum total cost. Transportation problem is involved about the problem of deliver the product from place to another place. Let's say from factories to warehouses or from warehouses to your customer. How can we do that in the different route in order to have the lowest transportation cost? We can apply linear programming to solve that. So this is like the example of the application of linear programming that you can apply to the real business problem. Right? And what kind of characteristic of the problem that require for linear programming? So based on the moment ago that I told you, you can see that one thing that you might notice is about, I said, okay, maximum profit, minimum total cost, minimum time, maximum efficiency, something like that, right? So it means that the first thing that of the problem that you might think about linear programming is about the problem that you have the objective to getting the optimal solution. The optimal solution is mean you want the maximum or the minimum value. You want the maximum profit, you want the minimum total cost, you want the minimum total time, something like that. If you have the objective, something like this, you can think about the linear programming, right, to be the tool that to solve. The second one is about the constraint, right, the constraint. So you can see that in the problem, right, we have constraint. Constraint means the limitation. If we have no constraint, so we can do anything that we want, right? No need to solve it. You can do everything, right? Because you don't have any limitation. But in the real business world, you have limitations, you have constraints. What kind of constraint that we have? So the problem, again, you want the optimal solution, and it needs to have the limitation of constraint. So what kind of constraint in the real world? For example, first one is about raw material. You have the limit of raw material. You have the limitation about the workforce, labor cost, labor hours, or machine hours. You have limitation about your capital, your money, your budget. You have limitation about the policy of the company or the law or the regulatory from the government, something like that. So this kind of the constraint in the business. Right? And the third one is about after you have objective to getting the optimal solution, you have the constraint, and the third one, the combination of the result, maybe you have a lot of combination that's possible, but you don't know which one is the best one. For example, I'm going to bring the example from the next few slides to tell you. Let's say that I want to produce chair and table. I want to know how many chair and table that I need to produce in order to getting the maximum profit. And I don't know number of chair and number of table that I have to produce in order to getting the profit, maximum profit. Maybe 7 chair, 2 table, 10 table, 1 chair, 4 chair, 4 table. I have no idea, but they have a lot of combination of the answer that's possible. But I want to know just which one is the optimal one. Right? So you need to have the various alternative. If you have only one alternative, no need to solve with the linear programming because you already have one choice. But since you have several choices, that's possible. But you don't know which one is the best one, so that's why we apply the linear programming. And the last one is very important, right? Everything that we're gonna solve using the linear programming is need to be in the linear relationship form. Because the name is linear programming, right? So linear relationship is mean that in the context of equation, the variable have to have the degree only degree 1 and degree 0. So no need to have like a square. Right? X squared, x multiply y, x power 3, square root x, something like that. We have no that kind of relationship. We have just only the constant value like the number and the variable degree 1. So this is the characteristic of the problem that require for linear programming. The linear programming also has the assumption, right? Also have the assumption. The first one is about the certainty. Certainty is mean that during our analysis using the linear programming, we assume that all the information we know with certainty. For example, let's say that I try to solve the problem of making the production of my products. So I know that okay, now I have the raw material around 100 tons. I have the labor hours 200 hours. So this is a fact. This is a thing that I know, and it doesn't change during my analysis. So linear programming is just like this certainty. You know all information with certainty. This doesn't change during your analysis. You know with certainty. And how about the proportionalities? The proportionalities mean, it's very directly, like that everything can be proportioned. For example, this can be proportioned. For example, if I make the production of this screen, one screen requires 10 moles. So if I produce 2 screens, it requires 20 moles. So it's just, directly related for the proportion for making things. And the visibility means that the answer for the linear programming no need to be the integer value. It can be the fraction or the decimal points. For example, refer to the example that I said, how many table and chair that we have to produce in order to getting the maximum profit. The answer when you're using the linear programming is might be, okay, you need to produce 10.7 chairs and 4.2 tables. It's okay. This is linear programming. because no need to be integer. But if you want the answer to be integer, you can using the integer programming. That will be the next topic, right? After the linear programming study that we finish. Additivities. The activities mean that everything that you have the same resource that you can put it combine together. For example, you might sharing about the labor hour, you sharing about the machine hour from the different product, you can add it together. You sharing about the component from 2 products or 3 products, you can combine it together. But this is the additivities. And the last one, non-negativity. So this is very important, right? And before we go further about the analysis, you can write down based on my description here. Non-negativity mean the value or the answer of decision variables have to greater or equal to 0. No negative value for the decision variables. The value of decision variable have to greater or equal to 0. Value of decision variable have to greater or equal to 0. No negative value. But the value of the objective function, it can be 0. It can be negative value. Decision variable, no negative value. Objective function value can be the negative value. Okay, so don't be confused about this. So why decision variable should be the value that greater or equal to 0 and have no negative value? Because let's say you want to know how many chair table that you need to produce, and the answer is -2 chair, -4 table is impossible. So decision variable are not allowed to have the negative value. It's required to have greater or equal to 0. But the value of objective function can be the negative value. So I will show you later what this is. But now, just mean non-negativity is mean just only for the decision variables. Decision variable greater or equal to 0 only, right? This is a linear programming model, or the general form of linear programming. Okay, you can see that actually we have 2 parts. Right? The first one drawing the circle around it. This is called objective function. This is the objective function. The objective functions mean the function that you need to specify your objective for that problem. And since the linear programming is the tool that we use for optimization, so then you need to specify that your problem or your objective for that problem, if you want to have the maximization or minimization purpose. So then we need to specify max or min, just only one. Max or min. Max means maximization, min is mean minimization. Just select one. And the z value here, it refers to the value of objective function. So this is the one that I'm said it can be the negative value, z value. But it's very case to have it. Actually, it's the business problem. But it can be negative one. Right? Sometimes in the science problem, right? Something like that. And what is the objective function values? So you can refer to, let's say, the total profit, total cost, total time, something like that. X1, X2, and also Xn, let's say X3, X4 until Xn. This is what we call decision variables. X1, X2, X3, X4 until Xn. This is the decision variables. So this is the one that I'm saying no negative value. The decision variable needs to be greater or equal to 0. CX1, CX2, and until CXN. This is the coefficients. Actually, this is called the constant value. Right? It's just the number. You can refer to the unit profit or unit cost, something like that. And once you have specific the objective function, then the next one we said, okay, subject to. This means this objective based on this condition or this constraint. Right, subject to. And the second one that undo the circle here is we call constraint. Constraint. This is what we call constraint or limitation. And if you look at the constraint, you can have many as much as you have. It depends on the problem. But the format of the constraint, once again, you're going to see that they have like a signal here. Less than or equal, or it can be equal, or it can be greater than or equal. It depends on the problem. Right. And on the left-hand side, this one, this is like the relationship, like on the fact of that constraint. Let's say I'm referring to the problem that, okay, I produce this screen, I require 10 volts, right? So if I produce X1 screen, I require 10 X1 volt. So that means 10 X1. So it's like the fact, the relationship of each specific resources of your constraint. This is fact. And this one can be changed based on the problem. Right? Greater or equal, less than equal, or equal. And the next one on the right hand side, B1, B2, and Bm, we call the right hand side value. The right hand side value. This is like the amount of resources that you have, amount of budget, amount of raw material, amount of labor hour, machine hour, something like that. So based on the constraint, the relationship or the fact on the left hand side you cannot change because this is the real one. But on the right hand side it can be changed. Sometimes you have part-time worker, so the labor hour may be increased. You can have more budget, right? If you have some money from other source, right? Something like that. But on the left hand side you cannot change because this is the real relationship. And for constraint, every time that you develop the linear programming model, you're going to have the last constraint, and it's worth 1 point for exam. It's about non-negativity constraint, as I mentioned. Every decision variable, x1, x2, until xn, it needs to be greater or equal to 0. You need to specify every time that you write down the linear programming model. So this is the general form of linear programming model. Okay, so decision variable once again. This means x1, x2 until xn. It can be, it depends on the problem, but normally it's going to be the number of units to produce, the proportion of money that you can invest, time the promotion media, or the number of employees that you're going to have. Objective functions, Z. You can refer to you want to maximize the profit, right? Or maximize or minimize, right? Or Z. Z is mean the total profit or total sale, total return. You want to minimize the total cost, minimize the total time, something like that. Okay. How about the constraint or limitation? Once again, limitation for the resources. You can think about the raw materials, labor hours, machine hours, or your money or budget. Legal, the rules from the government or the policy from your company. Let's say your company have the policy that we prefer have no overtime to do. So we don't have any overtime to do. So this is the policy. We have a policy that, okay, we will not hiring the part-time worker, right, something like that. So this is the constraint or limitation. Okay, so this is like a overall picture of the linear programming. So in detail, it means that from business problem, you need to write down into this model form. We call formulation. It's the most difficult part of linear programming. Because if you cannot specify what are your decision variable, you cannot know to write down what are your constraints, something like that. No way that you can go to further step to finding the solution. Okay, so that's why it's very important. And the next one, as I mentioned, that for today, we're gonna study the way of solving the linear programming based on the graphical method. So it means that we assume that we already have this model. Okay? We assume that we already have this model from the problem. And we try to solve for decision variable. In this case, it's about x1, x2 until xn. Okay, so this is the one that we're gonna do for today. But in order to make you have better understanding, so I'm gonna using the very classic example, the popular ones, that is the problem of the Fair Furniture Company, to show you for the whole problem, starting with the formulation and then solving it using the graphical. So this is the detail of this example, right? We have the Fair Furniture Companies that they try to produce inexpensive tables and chairs. And instead that the production process for table and chair is quite similar in the way that they require the certain number of hours of the company work and the number of the printing work, printing level hour. So based on the information, is that each table it requires 4 hours of the carpentry work and 2 hours of the printing work. But for each chair, it requires 3 hours in the carpentry work and 1 hour of painting. And during the this current production period, right, they have available carpentry hours just 240 hours, and available for the painting hours just 100 hours. And if we know that each table is sold and is gonna getting the profit is $7 per unit, and each chair is have generate the profit $5 per unit. Then the company wants to determine the number of table and chair that they're gonna produce in order to achieve the maximum profit. Okay, and this is the detail for the number of this example. You can see that we have the information based on produce 1 unit of table and chair. We can see that profit per unit of table is $7, for chair is $5. We have two, resources: the carpentry hour and painting hour. Right? You can see one table requires 4 hours of carpentry and 2 hours of painting. One chair requires 3 hours of carpentry and 1 hour of the painting. But we have available carpentry work hours just 240 and for painting 100 hours. So if we analyze this problem, you can see it's suitable for solving using the linear programming. Why? Because at first, your objective is try to find the way of, how many chair table, right? That you're gonna produce in order to have the maximum profit. Your objective is want to maximize the total profit. So you require the optimal solution. The second thing is that based on the problem, you do have the constraint. The constraint is come from what? The constraint is come from, the available carpentry hour and available painting hour that you have 240 and 100 hour respectively. And the combination is you have various of the combination, but you don't know which one is the best one. And also the way of the relationship for each information you can write down into the linear relationship. So then all the information show that we can apply linear programming to solve for this problem. So once we have this problem, then we know that, okay, we're gonna using the linear programming. So the very first step that you need to do is about doing the linear programming formulation. And in order to do the linear programming formulation, you need to starting with specific the decision variables. What are the decision variables for this problem? So decision variables mean, you know, you make decision based on what, right? So in this case, decision variable actually you want to know how many table and chair, right, that you're gonna produce in order to getting the maximum profit. So decision variable, let's say that I'm using x1 to be the number of table to produce, and x2 is going to be the number of share that we're going to produce. This is two decision variables. Right? And then we're going to doing the formulation. So if you know that one table you have the profit $7, so if you produce x1 table, you can get the profit $7x1, right? For share, one share, you getting the profit $5 per unit. If you produce x2 share, you can expect to have the profit from share 5x2, right? And then the total profit is mean the profit from table and share combined together. So that's why finally the objective function is going to be you want to maximize the total profit or the z value of 7x1 plus 5x2. 7x1 is the profit from table and 5x2 is profit from share. And also we do have like the constraint, right? As I mentioned that we have two constraints. The first one is about the carbonary hours. Since we know that, okay, one table will require 4 hours of carbonary hours. So if you produce x1 table, you require 4 x1 carbonary hours, right? But for share, one share will require 3 hours of carbonary hours. And if you produce x2 share, you require 3 x2. So then you combine the total carbonary hour that you need is going to be 4x1 plus 3x2. But it cannot exist the available that you have from the carbonary hours more than 40. So that's why the first constraint is going to be 4x1 plus 3x2 less than or equal to 240. How about the second constraint? Quite the same. You know that one table you require 2 hours of painting. So then x1 table, then you require 2x1 hour of painting. One chair you require 1 hour of painting, so then x2 chair you require x2 hours. Then you combine the total painting hour together, you're gonna have 2x1 plus 1x2, and it cannot more than available that you have 100 hours. So that's why for the second constraint, you're gonna have 2x1 plus 1x2 less than or equal to 100. And don't forget the last one. Every time that you specify the constraint, you need to have this one non-negative constraint. x1 and x2, that will be the decision variable, needs to be greater or equal to 0. So finally, for this problem, we're gonna have to maximize the total profit, right? This one's going to be the z value equal to 7x1 plus 5x2. Subject to we will have constraint, two constraints. 4x1 plus 3x2 less than or equal to 240. 2x1 plus 1x2 less than or equal to 100. And x1, x2 greater or equal to 0. Okay? So this is the way that we call linear programming formulation. We finished the first step. This is formulation. And now, from now, we assume that we have this one already. Okay? We're going to solve for x1, x2. And the method that we're going to study today is about the graphical method. Graphical means you need to drawing the graph, drawing the line, something like that. So, refer to your knowledge, your background. If I let you to draw a graph, what is the first thing that you're going to do? Construct the axis, right? And normally we have horizontal one and vertical one, right? X-axis and y-axis. We have just two axes. You have two axes means you have two variables. If you have more than two variables, let's say three variables, you can have another axis that penetrates to do your face, right? Like the 3Ds, like the plane when you draw it. But we don't do that. My point is that we're gonna do the graphical method. It means you need to draw in the graph. And as I mentioned, when you draw in the graph, you need to construct about the axis. You have just two axes. So it means that based on the graphical method, it's suitable for just only the problem that you have only two digit variables. If you have more than two digit variables, you cannot solve it using the graphical method. You need to using the software program. You need to using like the Microsoft Excel. But why do we need to study the graphical? Because as I mentioned that we need to understand about the basic and understand about the foundation, how it's operate, how it's come up with the answer. Okay. So in conclusion, for the graphical method, it's used for only two digit variables only. Okay. And firstly, you need to construct about the axis. Right? So this is the axis. But for me, I prefer to call x-axis to be x1 and y-axis to be x2. So this one going to be x1 axis for me, and this one going to be x2 axis for me. And you know that based on your background, when you're drawing the axis, right, you construct the axis, it's gonna divide the area into 4 quadrants. Right? This is a 4 quadrant. The first quadrant, you can say plus is being this one, x1 positive and x2 also positive, right? For the second quadrant, x1 negative, x2 positive. The third one, both are negative, right? And the last quadrant, x1 positive, but x2 negative, right? So this is like the basic of drawing the graph, right? You have the axis and then it's divided the area into the quadrant. And remember that I said linear programming, the last constraint that you need to graphic every time is about the initial variable needs to be greater equal to 0, right? So it means that when you have the axis, the area that we consider to analyze the linear programming, we're going to consider just based on the first quadrant only. Okay, based on the first quadrant only. Because based on the first quadrant, both x1 x2 are positive. Okay, we are not analyze other area. Okay, we consider just only the first quadrant. Okay. And for the linear programming, so we're using the graphical. I'm trying to make it very easy for you, right? So conclude that this consists of only 3 steps. The first step is that after you construct the axis, you need to drawing the graph of all the constraints, right? First step is drawing the graph of all constraints. My question is, can you draw the graph, the linear line? You do still remember the way that drawing the graph? Do you still remember? Okay. So normally we try to find the intersection on each axis, right, and connect it together. For example, I'm gonna solve the problem of Fair Furniture Company. I'm drawing the axis, and then I'm gonna starting with the drawing all the constraints. The first constraint is 4x1 plus 3x2 less than equal to 240. Actually, this one is in the equation, right? Because we have less than or equal. But if you want to drawing this graph, this means that you just drawing the graph of 4x1 plus 3x2 equal to 240. And then after that, you shading or highlighting above or below the line. But this is the way that we have done before. So in this case, let's say that I'm going to run this graph first. 4x1 plus 3x2 less than equal to 240. So firstly, we need to find the x1 intersection. So x1 intersection is mean we substitute x2 to be 0, right? So we have 4x1 equal to 240. So x1 cutting at 60. On the other hand, I try to find x2 intersection. So then m substitute x1 to be 0. I have 3x2 equal to 240, right? So x2 cutting at 80. So then, from the axis, I'm connecting 60 and 80 here. X1 intersection 60, X2 intersection 80, and then I connect together. So this is the graph of linear line of 4x1 plus 3 equal to 240. But since our constraint is less than or equal, it's less than or equal, it means you shading or highlighting below the line. So that's why I'm using the yellow to show the direction that okay, we shading below the line. So this is a graph. This is a graph of the first constraint, right? How about the second constraint? We're gonna do the same way, right? Second constraint is 2x1 plus 1x2 less than or equal to 100, which means that we need to draw in the graph of 2x1 plus 1x2 equal to 100 first, and then we shading right below the line because this is less than or equal. We try to find x1 intersection, substitute x2 to be 0. We have 2x1 equal to 100, x1 cutting at 50. x2 intersection, substitute x1 to be 0. We have x2 cutting at 100, and then we connect it together. So the graph of the second constraint is going to be just like this. It's cutting x1 at 50, x2 at 100, and it's less than or equal to, so we shading below the line. But I just showing the graph separately for you. But actually, the first step you need to combine together. Which means that you need to draw in these two graphs in the same axis. So this is the first step. This is the first step. Drawing the graph of all constraints. Constraint number 1, constraint number 2. Right. So we finish the first step for the graphical. The second step is that you need to finding what we call the visible area. The visible area means the area of the possible answer of linear programming. How can we find the visible area? The way that we can find the visible area is that we just try to find the intersection of all constraints, underlining the word all. If you're finding all intersection area of all constraints, by finding the intersection area of all constraints, it's going to be the visible area. For example, in this case, we have constraint 1 and 2. And if I said that this is area number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, can you tell me that which number refer to the visible area in this case? Number 1, right? Because number 1 is the intersection area from constraint 1 and 2. So then you shading area number 1. This is we call visible area. This is the second step, which means that every point within this area that has a million points, if you substitute into the constraint, it's going to make it real. But the point that out of visible area, when you try to substitute into the constraint, this is impossible to happen, it's unreal. For example, in this case, this point, let's say, we have x1, let's say 60, x1 60, x2 20, this point. This point is out of visible area, right? You try to substitute x1 60, x2 20. So what do we have here for the first constraint? You have 240 plus 60, right? You have 300. But we have available just 240 hours, so impossible. So that's why every point within this area is going to make it real for the way that you substitute the value into the constraint. We call the area of the possible answer. So this is the second step we call visible area. Okay. And for the third step is that we just apply the method to solve for the solution. In our class, based on the graphical, we have two possible approaches, two possible methods. The first one we call the corner point approach, and the second one is called isopropyl line. Let's talk the first one. first, counterpoint approach. So look at its name state, right? As the name state, it's counterpoint, right? What does it mean? The counterpoint approach is that normally the answer or the optimal solution of linear programming is usually occur at the counterpoint of physical area. So the counterpoint approach, when we apply it just try to find the coordination of each counterpoint from physical area, and then substitute that coordination into the objective function, and see that which point or which counterpoint that provide the maximum or the minimum value that you want. For example, in this case, our problem is maximize profit, right? If you want to solve for using the counterpoint approach, you just try to substitute the coordination of point A, point B, point C, or point D to this objective function and see that which point provide you with the maximum profit. Coordination of point A is 0, 0. Coordination of point B is 50, 0, right? Coordination of point D is 0, 80, 0, 80. But for point C, actually this is the intersection point between the first and the third and the second constraint coming together. So you just solving for the intersection point from this constraint. Right? If you still remember the way to find the intersection point, we just make the coefficient in front of x1 and x2 similar, right? And using one minus another one, right? So for x1 and x2. For example, in this case, I try to find the coordination of point C. So then suppose that I'm using 2 multiply for all for the second constraint. We're going to have 4x1 plus 2x2, and this one is 200. Then I'm using the first one and then the second one. So we're going to have x2 equal to 40. Then we substitute x2 equal to 40 to the first or the second one. You're going to find out, okay, x1 will be 30. So finally, based on the counterpoint approach, point A, B, C, and D. This is the coordination. Point A 0, 0. Point B 50, 0. Point C, I'm just showing you, right, that x1 is 30, x2 40, and point D is 0, 80. We substitute this coordination into the objective function, right? Here. And you're gonna see the profit difference from each of the counterpoint. This is the result. Since we prefer the maximum profit, right? So based on the counterpoint, you can see 410 is the highest profit. That comes from point C. So based on counterpoint approach, the answer is at point C. You can have the maximum profit, or we can infer that if you want to have the maximum profit, you need to produce x1 or table equal to 30 units, and produce x2 or share equal to 40 units. And you can expect the total profit is $410, and that's it. This is finished for counterpoint approach. So you can see for the counterpoint one is quite very easy, but it has one drawback of the counterpoint approach is that what happens if you have more than 2 constraints? In this example, you have just 2 constraints, right? You have only one cutting point. You have, let's say, 6, 7, or 10 constraints. What happens? You can have a lot of cutting points, and then when you try to solve for the coordination of each counterpoint, you can spend a lot of time to solve for that coordination. So it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you spend time a lot to find the coordination. Right? So this is the drawback of the counterpoint approach. If you have more constraints, you have more cutting point to solve. So you spend a lot of time. Okay. So that's I recommend you to using the second one is called isoprofit line. And this method we're going to use is continually to the next topic as well. Right? For our class, isoprofit line should be the one that we I suggest you to use it. Right? Isoprofit line. And the concept isoprofit line concept, right? Is nothing much. We're gonna talk about this after break. Okay. So now let's have a break. And one thing, we're gonna add